All right, thank you guys for tuning in to our regularly scheduled Jock Talk podcast. Matt, along with Brock here. Brock, how you doing?
I was pretty good, but I'm good now.
Yeah,
I'm very
it's a
good.
pretty good Saturday so far. We got a condensed show for you guys here today, so we can get back and start watching the games. Get you guys some live Twitter updates on some of the games going on.
Mm.
Obviously, a big game for the Badgers this week, Brock. The Badgers go into Michigan. Obviously, there's a lot of key factors that are going to go into today's game. Let's get your two key factors, your two key stats for today's game that would hopefully give UW the win.
I think the one of the big things for the Badgers this week is to pressure Spaeth, that young quarterback. Yes, he's at home. That crowd is going to be crazy for our offense. But if we can silence the crowd by getting a couple of hits on the quarterback, pressuring him, getting him uncomfortable. We've seen earlier in the year that he is very sporadic with his throws sometimes. He doesn't throw the ball with a lot of command that you would like him to when he's pressured. If he has plenty of time, he is probably one of the best pocket passers that we've seen in a while. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can do with the front four, or at the front seven, really, of our defensive front. With big loss this week is Vince Beagle is out, and it's going to be one of the bigger factors this week is the backup linebackers again having to step up and play at a hostile territory. So it's going to be fun to watch if the Badgers can contain their offense.
Yeah, definitely. I know this is your second game that you're getting to watch, other than the opener against LSU.
Mm-hmm.
A big game for the Badgers. For me, it comes down to two things. Third downs in general. Michigan has a great third down defense, has only allowed 6 third down conversions all year. Badgers last week excelled at third down, especially on third and long. So making sure they're in third and manageables and then converting is going to be big for the Badgers.
Mm-hmm.
And then Corey Clement needs to have a big game for the Badgers to win this game. 9-0 when he rushes for 100+ yards. I'm making this prediction. The Badgers are going to go to 10-0 when Corey Clement rushes for 100+ yards. I think he goes for about $150. The Badgers win 27-24.
Yeah, it's going to be a closer game. I know a lot of people were picking Michigan to blow them out, but I don't think that'll be the case. We've shown our defense has stood up against some of the more prolific offenses like the LSU, like the Michigan State, and our defense has shown that we are top tier defense. It's going to be really, the big question is the offense, really. You said if Corey Clement gets it going, they shouldn't have a problem. It's just if they lock him down, force Hornibrook to pass the ball, again, they are in Ann Arbor, one of probably the most craziest ruckus stadiums in the nation, really. And to have a freshman quarterback second start, and it's going to be in one of the biggest stadiums. Bright lights are back on him again. He'll be under a microscope like last week. He proved that he could play with the big boys last week, winning in impressive fashion against Michigan State. This week is a whole new animal in Michigan, with that athletic offense and athletic defense, and Harbaugh calling the shots. So I think one of the other keys is the consistency and not having the big turnover. Everyone talks about the big turnover that can ruin a game. Wisconsin quarterbacks are known for, hey, we're gonna have a pretty good game throwing the ball, but we're going to have that one interception, one touchdown, but that one interception is going to come in a crucial time, or just flip the whole game upside down, have that big turnover that's just going to not necessarily ruin the game, but turn the tide and have them struggle, really.
Yeah.
So if the big thing is the consistent quarterback play, you talked about the running back. I'm going to talk about the quarterback. If he doesn't turn over the ball, is smart with the ball, puts it in good spots, lets his receiver catch the ball and run. If he doesn't do that, it's going to be a struggle for that offense to put up any points against this Michigan defense.
Yeah, definitely agree. I think we talked about it earlier. You have Michigan winning in a close one.
I do.
And then you mentioned Wisconsin quarterbacks. That brings up our What If Sports Game of the Week. We both chose a Badgers team from years past. Your team is led by Scott Tolzien, former Packers backup. I'm going with the Russell Wilson Badgers, so we'll be able to hit on that. A couple of other games this week. We both have UNC taking down Florida State this week. But then a game we disagree on. We have Georgia versus Tennessee. Who do you have winning that game?
I have Georgia going into Tennessee and winning that game. Another close game this week. I think a lot of these highly touted games are going to be very close, at least closer than the teams they played of late. Like the Louisville FSU game was nowhere near what anyone thought. I think Michigan-Wisconsin game is going to be close. The Georgia-Tennessee game is going to be close. The Louisville-Clemson game is going to be closer than anticipated, probably. So it's going to be a fun few games to watch this week. There's not a lot of big games on, but there's going to be a lot of good games on. There's a lot of good matchups this week. You tweeted out that you have Oklahoma State beating Texas.
That's right. As
your upset pick of the week. And they are still currently winning, so your pick doesn't look that bad. My upset pick of the week was Oklahoma winning this week. They have yet to play, so it's going to be... What time do they play? Let me see. I can't even see him. Anyways, I have Oklahoma. There is Oklahoma going into TCU at 5 o'clock Eastern time and winning. I tweeted that out. One of my other upset pick of the weeks was, I didn't want to tweet it. I didn't want to put it down and say I said it because I didn't think it was going to be a very good one. But I had Iowa State beating Baylor. As of right now, Iowa State is beating Baylor 21-7, I believe it is.
Nice.
Early in the second quarter. Who was your other upset pick that you weren't? I know you weren't ready to commit to one because it was a on the fence game, as we would say.
Yeah.
Who's your other pick?
My other pick was Georgia Tech upsetting Miami in Mark Richt's first game in ACC play. But with Georgia Tech coming off a rough game against Clemson last week, I couldn't quite pull the trigger on that one. And then Miami's been playing awfully well so far this year. But that was
it's looking like a good thing you didn't pick that one. Miami is currently up 28-7, almost halftime in that game.
Yeah, so another
safe. You're safe.
Another offensive struggle for the Georgia Tech team. You mentioned Louisville-Clemson. Louisville 2 weeks ago had the game of the century or game of the decade, however it was being touted, and that game ended up being like a FCS team, Florida State team showed up.
63-20.
Yeah, this game's being just as highly touted. We have number 3 Louisville going into, I believe, number 5 Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of predictions from this game, or a couple of just notes from this game. Clemson, I believe, is the better team. Deshaun Watson, I believe, is the better quarterback. I know preseason your player to watch was Lamar Jackson, so that
Best
can't
believe it. You heard it here first.
Could not have been a better prediction. I think Clemson wins this game. I think it's a high-scoring game. I have Clemson winning 45-34. If this game was in Louisville, probably might be a different story, but it's not. This game could just as easily influence how the ACC finishes and could very well as easily influence the Final Four for the college football playoffs. So, again, I have Clemson winning 45-34. I think Deshaun Watson outplays Lamar Jackson today.
Yeah, I have Louisville. I'm going to ride the train. I'm the conductor. I started this bandwagon. I'm leading the pack for this one because I think I was the first one to say Lamar Jackson will have a huge year. Am I right?
As far as I know, yeah.
I saw that before the season started, Lamar Jackson was 100-1 favorite for the Heisman. He is now 4-11. So he is obviously the number one choice for the Heisman this year, as of now. I think he will continue that train, the Heisman campaign, this week against Clemson. The one thing I do not like about them is their inconsistencies on offense and defense. They have played poorly against not so good teams in the college football. They haven't put up points like everyone expected them to be, number one all year. They should not lose. They have disappointed. They haven't won any games very definitively. I think last game they did win was against a bottom feeder, so it wasn't that impressive. That being said, Louisville's only played Florida State. That was really their big, like, hey, we are real. Watch out for us. They average over 60 points a game. I think their offense is one of the funnest to watch in a long time. I have Louisville winning this game. I think Lamar Jackson has another 5 touchdowns. The Clemson defense is good enough to force him into a couple turnovers, which might prove to be a bad thing down the road in the fourth quarter, possibly. I think Clemson makes it close late. Louisville controls the game pretty much until the fourth quarter. They make it close. And Louisville gets that game-sealing drive to put them up 10 or put them up 14. Get that 2-possession game late. I think they have proven they can take out the best teams in the nation. They just straight destroyed Florida State. I love what they've seen. Their defense is very underrated. We talked about a couple of their key players last week in our last podcast. Louisville, I think, is just a whole nother animal. They want to prove that they belong. I think that's one of the biggest things in college football is the desire and the wanting to prove to people that, hey, we can contend. We want to win the championship. I think that gives a better competition with these not so good teams. Is like the 20 ranks are like they have something to strive for. They know they are ranked. They're better. It's like a Wisconsin team. No one expected them to be very good. I know I didn't expect them to be number 8 going into week 5. Did not expect that. But very glad to see it, nonetheless. But I think the teams that weren't highly scouted and highly rated have a little more to prove, especially if they had a good year last season and they have the players like Louisville has. They have a lot of big, dynamic, big players. I think the one thing, if Clemson wants to win this game, they have to stop Lamar Jackson running the ball. We both agree Lamar Jackson isn't the best quarterback. He is a great athlete. He can throw the ball. He has very good arm strength, can throw the ball really far. The accuracy isn't there yet. So if they can force them into passing situations like 3rd and long or 3rd and manageable that they need it, or 4th and 5 late in the game, if they can force them into known passing situations, I think Clemson could win this game, but I do think Louisville wins this game. I'll say 48-38. They win it by 10, score late to really set them apart and prove to everyone that they can not just blow teams out, but can win close games.
Yeah. So we disagree on the Badgers Michigan game. We disagree on Louisville Clemson. We disagree on Georgia Tennessee, but we do agree we both have UNC taking down Florida State.
One thing I will say about me picking Michigan, we didn't get to touch on it because we did say this would be a little bit of a condensed version because it is a big game and we both want to watch it and it's coming up pretty quick. I'm picking Michigan because I've picked against Wisconsin in the big games. I picked against Wisconsin, and they've won. So I am not going to break it. Okay, don't hate me that I'm picking against. Yeah, I'm just not going to break the jinx. If I pick the Badgers and they lose, I'm gonna feel really terrible. So I'm gonna pick Michigan to win, and if Wisconsin wins, I'm gonna still be a genius because I didn't break the jinx or put a jinx on them.
It's a win-win situation here for you.
It really is.
If Michigan wins, you just picked the right team. If the Badgers win, you just didn't jinx them. So
yeah, exactly.
You can't go wrong there.
Yeah, exactly.
Just got an update from my phone here. Texas has had 3 PATs in a row blocked in that game against Oklahoma State. So not too hot if you can't kick field goals. But let's get moving on to the NFL. Obviously, no Packers game on the slate this week, but we do have a really good slate of games this week. Let's start off with Indianapolis and Jacksonville. It's technically a home game for the Jags. However, they are playing in London. We have Indy versus Jacksonville. Indianapolis is also favored in that game, Brock. Who do you got?
I looked this up just because it is a shorter flight from Indianapolis to London than Jacksonville to London. So pretty much based on that, it's a 2-hour less flight, so we get to land 2 hours earlier, plus be off the plane 2 hours longer than Jacksonville. I'm going to just strictly go on that because these teams have been up and down. They've shown some glimpses of brilliance and just utter terrible. I'm going to pick the Colts because they have less travel time, really. It's a 9-hour flight for them and about 11-hour flight for Jacksonville.
All right, I do have Jacksonville winning this game. I know I've been picking them a lot this year.
Yes, have I.
And it's kind of been disappointing, but I do have the Jags winning this game in London. I think that with Chris Ivory and TJ Yeldon healthy for the Jags, they take this game. Have to rely less on Blake Bortles throwing the ball. The next game, we have Tennessee going to Houston. Some bad news out of Houston. J.J. Watt out for the year, having back surgery. Fortunately, we're both a big fan of the Wisconsin native from Pewaukee. So with that, who do you have winning this game? Tennessee versus Houston. Houston is still favored.
I do have Texas in this one. I have the Texans winning. It's going to be a big game for that defense because they gave up, 27 points to a third-string quarterback last week.
27-0.
Third-string quarterback shutout. I think the J.J. Watt injury could bolster Jadeveon Clowney. I think this is a big few games for him to prove why he was drafted so highly, and all the expectations for him this year should be extremely high now that J.J. Watt's gone. So I do have the Texans. I think DeAndre Hopkins is too much of a mismatch against pretty much any corner in the league. So I think Texans will get back on track. Their offense, Bill O'Brien is back taking over the offensive playing calls. So that could change up a lot. We saw it with the Packers last year when Mike McCarthy finally took over play calling, and we started putting up the points that the Packers were supposed to put up. Yep. So maybe now with this whole play calling thing, we might see a little more passing and seeing different schemes from the offense with their powerful arm and Brock Osweiler and their deep threats in Will Fuller and DeAndre Hopkins. Texans, I think, will win this game pretty handily.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a little bit of a high-scoring game. We were talking about it earlier. We were talking actually for a while earlier before we started the show.
Yep, we did.
I think DeMarco Murray, Derrick Henry, and Marcus Mariota all account for at least one rushing touchdown today, but I have the Texans winning this game. This next game, we have the winless on the season Cleveland Browns heading into going to Washington, D.C. to take on the Redskins. I do have the Redskins winning this game. I was going to go with the Browns, but I could not put my faith in Cody Kessler. Who do you have winning this game?
I have. This is my upset pick of the week. This is the Browns game to win. I think last week Washington did not win that game. The Giants lost the game with big penalties down the road, or down the end of the game, and just ruined it really for them. So I think the Browns will get their first win of the year. We talked about this player earlier, and we think he will be one of the biggest impacts on the game. And his name is Terrell Pryor. We've seen him play a lot of positions last week and play them very well. He had a huge game. He played quarterback, wide receiver, safety, everything, really. Everything, anything that the Browns wanted to put him at, if they wanted to put him at a lineman, if they wanted him to put at a punter, I think he would do it. I think he's found his groove. It took him a little while to find out truly what kind of athlete he is in the NFL, but I think he found it. I think he will go on from this and produce hopefully for Browns fans for years to come. I will say this. I look like a genius for drafting him in my fantasy draft. One of the last picks, I think. It might have been the second to last round I got him. It's like, I'm going to pick him. Just in case he goes off, I have him. And sure enough, I have him, and a guy on that team, Josh Gordon, is now out. And most likely not returning to the Browns roster. So that just opens it up a lot more. I think Terrell Pryor's success last game and them seeing him develop into this kind of player really gave the Browns, like, hey, you know what? Josh Gordon is struggling, but we have this guy, Terrell Pryor, who can play 4 or 5 positions.
Yeah.
So I like Terrell Pryor. I think he could be one of the main reasons why the Browns win this week.
Yeah, I think that it's a close game. Like I said, big fans of Isaiah Crowell. He's having a pretty good year so far, and Terrell Pryor. But I do have Washington winning this game. This next game, I believe we are both going to agree on. We have Russell Wilson and the had been struggling offense of the Seahawks going into the Jets, excuse me, and taking them on. Russell Fitzpatrick. Jeez.
Okay. Today, Junior.
Ryan Fitzpatrick coming off of a game with 6 interceptions. Russell Wilson, there we go. Still hobbling a little bit, not on the injury report at all this week. I have Seattle winning this game. I think it's a lower scoring game, something around 17-10, 17-13, somewhere around there. But I do have it in favor of the Seahawks.
I also have the Seahawks. I think I'd rather take Russell Wilson on one leg than Ryan Fitzpatrick with 2. I think that offense might have found the groove. Jimmy Graham, I think, might have found his little niche on his team now. I think he might have finally broken down the barrier. He had a big game last week. Jimmy Graham could be another big target for Russell Wilson this week, especially if he can't be mobile and he has to get the ball out a little quicker to find the Doug Baldwin, the Tyler Lockett, Jimmy Graham. Christian Michael needs to have another big game. He broke a few runs last week and just needs to keep being dominant up front.
Yeah. This next game is my lock of the week. With the Buffalo Bills going to Foxborough and getting absolutely demolished by the New England Patriots. Just got the update. Jimmy Garoppolo will start this game. Sammy Watkins is out for this game. Gronkowski. Yeah, that's how excited I am. I had to raise the octave. Gronk slowly getting healthier and healthier with that hamstring. He's ready to be his old self. I think it's at least a 2-touchdown game. And again, we mentioned this earlier when we were talking pre-show.
Mm-hmm.
This is the start of the demise of Rex Ryan in Buffalo.
Yeah, this game I don't think will be anything close, especially if their defense plays anywhere near how they played against the Texans, because that Texans offense is fairly good. And they shut them down 0 points. So they bring in Tyrod Taylor with limited weapons. You could say LaShawn McCoy and who else? Really, they don't have much weapons over there in Buffalo. Rex Ryan is a joke. I don't think he takes it seriously, especially when he's losing. He just tries to make a game and just make fun of himself, make fun of everything else, and try to steer it away from winning until he starts winning.
Yeah.
I think that the Patriots, I agree, will at least win by 2 scores, especially with Jimmy Garoppolo playing as well as he has played before and probably after his injury.
Yeah. Next game, we have Carolina coming off a disappointing loss to the Vikings. Atlanta, one of the worst defenses, however, coming off of a win against the Saints. I have Carolina taking this game, definitely taking advantage of the porous defense of the Falcons.
Yeah, I actually have the Falcons in this one. I think Atlanta's offense proved that they could score the ball. Yes, the Saints' defense wasn't great, but Matt Ryan spread the ball around. Julio Jones, they put up 45 points, and Julio Jones had 1 catch for 16 yards. So that's speaking loudly on their offense and the spreading of the ball. The running game was big. They gave confidence back to their 2 young running backs in the backfield that, hey, we can play in this league. Like, we can show them that we can run the ball. When we still have that beast of a man, Julio Jones, on the outside that can catch almost anything. So it's going to be an interesting game to watch because the Panthers did lose Michael Orr this week to a concussion. He played through it last week. He said he developed headaches, so NFL, they have to put him through the protocol, and he will be out. So that's I think they had him. They might have they had him at one of the tackles. I forget which one. Usually he plays left, but I think they put him on right. Either way, that offensive line struggled mightily against a very good Vikings defense, giving up 8 sacks. So this will be a bounce back game for the Panthers if they can block up front. If they can't, because Atlanta saw the pressure that the Vikings brought, so if Atlanta can somewhat duplicate that and force like 3 or 4 sacks on Cam, get some hits on him, make him uncomfortable, Atlanta will win this game. I do have Atlanta winning this game. They're at home. I think their offense might be just a little too much this week for the Carolina defense.
Yeah, look at us making it further than we did earlier. No, inside joke there. This next game that we have is my upset pick of the week. We have the Oakland Raiders traveling to Baltimore. Baltimore is favored in this game. I do have Oakland going to Baltimore, traveling across country and winning this game. I think Amari Cooper gets back on track. David Carr gets back on track after a subpar performance last week in a win against the Titans. Oakland versus Baltimore. Baltimore's favored. Who do you got?
I also have Oakland. I actually have quite a bit of upset picks, if you would say, because I do already have the Browns, I already have the Falcons, and now I have the Raiders. If you want to go upsets, I'm being a little bold. I don't. We have 4 undefeated teams.
5 left.
Well, 5 and 4 playing this week. I think. What do I got? I think at the end of this week there will still be 3 because Philly has a bye. I think 2 lose. I think this is one of them. I think the Ravens do lose this game. They are improved offensively. Their defense has made some plays. I think that Raiders offense is built for the big play, and their big plays will outmatch Joe Flacco and that pretty good offense. I won't say they're a great offense. They have a lot of veterans, a lot of leadership, a lot of consistency. But I think the Raiders' offense is the big play, and they make some big plays early and often, and could break this game wide open early.
Yeah, completely agree with everything you said. I think that this game is a little bit higher scoring. Both teams have deep threats at the receivers. Watch out for Mike Wallace from a fantasy aspect in this game. I think he gets at least 1 touchdown and probably a deep one. We've seen Oakland be susceptible to long passes.
Yep. Sean Smith, blowing coverage.
Yeah. This next game, an NFC North battle. It's one of the few divisional matchups we have this week. We have Detroit going to Chicago. Detroit is favored in this game. I think this is my prediction for one of the more lopsided games of the week. We saw the Lions offense do really good things in the air, at least Marvin Jones Jr. Through the air. We saw the Detroit defense step up a little bit more in the second half against Green Bay. Chicago struggles on offense. They've struggled on defense. They have some injuries. I think Detroit wins this game by at least 17 points.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. That their offense, surprisingly, without Calvin Johnson, Detroit's offense hasn't really missed a beat because of Marvin Jones. I think their offense will keep it going against the Bears. The Bears' defense is pretty bad. They have some big losses over there. Offense isn't much better. I think the loss of Matt Forte is really affecting them, especially in the passing game, because Jeremy Langford has been very inconsistent, who they expected to be huge. They haven't found another running back that was like Forte or is going to give them consistency out of the backfield. I think, I would agree with you that Detroit wins this game by 17-plus points. It could be an ugly game, especially for Bears fans. Don't really care. But I think Detroit will take this game pretty easily.
All right, the next game here, a team that we are high on to begin the season. They've disappointed in back-to-back weeks.
Yep.
We have the Denver Broncos going to Tampa Bay. Denver's favored in this game, I believe, only by like 3 points.
Yeah.
So they're not favored by that much, but Denver is favored. I have I have Denver winning this game. I think they forced Jameis into a couple of turnovers, which doesn't really favor Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I think that D-line is still very good for Denver, even without DeMarcus Ware. Von Miller is an animal. Their secondary, the no-fly zone, is one of the best in the league that the league probably has ever seen it in quite some time. Yeah, I also have Denver. I think Simeon really performed well last week.
Great game last week.
Yeah, he had one. I think he had the best fantasy week out of any quarterback, which is impressive to say, especially with your a second year out of Northwestern. So that's a big accomplishment for him, and a big upside for Denver, especially offensively. After their wide receivers were complaining that they weren't getting the ball enough. I think Denver wins this game. Like you said, Jameis makes some mistakes. Doug Martin is out again, so finding the running back. If they can't have a running game, they will not be successful in this game.
Yeah. Just one more note from them. We did have Tampa Bay both making the playoffs. Me as a wild card, you as a division winner. They still have a shot down there. The NFC South has struggled a lot of this year. Carolina's 2-2. With that, Austin Seferian-Jenkins was cut after a DUI arrest. He did get signed by the New York Jets. Mm-hmm. So just maybe in a couple of weeks, once he learns the offense, a watch-out kind of player. The Jets have been looking for a tight end for quite a while.
Yeah.
The next game, another team that you were high on, and that a lot of people were high on coming into the year, laid an egg last week in Buffalo. We have the Los Angeles Rams heading into the desert in Arizona, taking on the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals bounce back. The Rams don't have a very good defense, although they've played a couple of good games this year. Todd Gurley hasn't really had that standout game yet. I think he has that today against Arizona, but in a loss, I do have the Cardinals winning this game. I think it's a higher scoring game, 28-34, and somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I also think the Cardinals will win. It was actually a tougher game to call than probably some of the other ones because of how many rushing yards this Cardinals defense gave up last week.
Yeah.
Gave up a lot to Buffalo. Did not see it coming. Buffalo didn't really pass it on them terribly. But they gave up a lot of rushing yards last week. So Todd Gurley is a very capable running back. I think, like you said, he will have a big game rushing the ball, but it's all about passing the ball. So if Arizona can stop the run like they have been known for, they will easily win this game, especially it being at Arizona with that crazy crowd.
Yeah. Next game, candidate for highest scoring game of the week, we have the New Orleans Saints looking for their first win, going to San Diego. Obviously, San Diego's been going through some injuries. They've already lost Keenan Allen for the year. They've lost Danny Woodhead for the year. They've lost Manti Te'o for the year. With an Achilles injury last week. I have New Orleans getting their first win of the week. San Diego is favored, so it's an upset, but not my upset pick. But like I said, I do have New Orleans going to San Diego and winning this game.
I actually have San Diego winning this game because their offense is still very capable of putting up points. Melvin Gordon's been a beast this year. They do have Antonio Gates if he can stay healthy. They still have the weapons on the outside. Somehow Philip Rivers spreads the ball and finds anybody who's open. And this Saints defense we saw is probably one of the worst that we've seen this year. They only gave up 16 yards to Julio Jones and lost 45-32 or whatever it was. So I do think San Diego goes in and wins that game. I think it, like you said, it will be a high-scoring game, at least 30s by both teams.
Yeah.
But San Diego comes out on top.
This next game, we have the Dallas Cowboys going into San Francisco. I originally had San Francisco winning this game, but then I realized that I was picking Blaine Gabbert, and I don't think that I could find it myself to pick Blaine Gabbert to win a game against the Cowboys or against anyone. So I do have Dallas winning that game. Dallas is favored in that game in San Francisco.
Yeah, I was back and forth on this one. I do think San Francisco wins this game. Their defense is spotty. Dallas is a decent team. Des Bryant being out is a huge factor. Huge, but Dak has shown that he will spread the ball out. But it also tightens down coverage on the other guys because they don't have to cover a guy like Dez who's open almost all the time. Even if he's double covered, you might throw it to him and he still would catch it. So with him being out, I think it brings more people in the box, tightens down the defensive schemes, and could lock down the running game and make Dak throw it when he doesn't want to and pressure him a little more than he might be used to in these first few games. So I have the 49ers winning that game. I do like their offense sometimes, the 49ers. Carlos Hyde is a very good running back. Blaine Gabbert just got to find a consistency passing the ball. They have a couple good tight ends, not really big names. Vance McDonald is a good tight end. I really don't like Dallas's defense that much. They've given up some big plays. They haven't really forced turnovers, so I do think San Francisco wins this.
A player to watch out for, I know he was one of my sleepers to begin the year, Cole Beasley. With Des Bryant out, with them bringing more players in the box, he's one of those guys. He gets open, he comes out of the slot. I think he has at least 85 yards and a touchdown today.
Hopefully he doesn't get destroyed.
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't get destroyed like the Bears lit him up.
Yeah.
He came back. He came back, so he's a tough guy.
Yeah. Next game. We mentioned this game earlier. Kansas City gets Jamal Charles back. Pittsburgh gets Le'Veon Bell back. We do have Kansas City going to Pittsburgh. I have this as another upset pick. I do have Kansas City going into Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh laid an egg last week against the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Kansas City takes this game with a big day from the Kansas City stable of running backs.
I'm going to pick the Steelers this week. I think they will bounce back. Ben's a good enough quarterback to take that game as just it's a game. We lose games. It happens. But getting Le'Veon Bell back just adds a whole new dynamic. They have a two-headed monster clearly now in Le'Veon Bell and D'Angelo Williams. And if you want to even throw in their three-headed monster with Antonio Brown on the outside. Excuse me. Ben spreads out the ball quite well. He attacks the weaknesses of the defense. I think the Steelers will win this game, but I mean, the one key is don't throw an interception to Marcus Peters. He is the real deal. No one's even talking about him, really. And yet he has 12 interceptions in his first, 18, 20 games or something like that? I'm like, that's unheard of. And 12 and 20 games or what?
Defensive Rookie of the Year.
It's ridiculous. It's almost averaging one a game. And any corner, any safety, any defensive player would love that stat.
Yeah.
So I still have the Steelers winning that game, I think. Ryan Shazier is out for the Steelers, but I think their defense will contain that subpar offense, especially with Jamal Charles. He might not have the wind the wind back. He might not get his full load of carries that you would expect him to get if he was a day one starter. So I think they contain that offense to keep them to probably their normal field goals and a touchdown.
Yeah. Our final game, the KC-Pittsburgh game, was the Sunday night game. The Monday night game this week, we have the New York Giants going to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Let's have you go ahead and pick first this game.
I think the Giants win this game. I do like the Vikings defense. They are a very good defense. Their D-line is good. Their secondary is playing pretty well. I think the Giants have just one too many weapons for that secondary to guard, especially with the emergence of Sterling Shepard and Victor Cruz coming back strong. They're 2-1 with Odell not even scoring a touchdown yet. So that being said, that's a big upside for them, for the Giants. I think Odell does get his first touchdown this week. I think he either torches Terrence Newman or Trey Waynes. We both know they can cover, but I just don't think. I think Odell's route running and speed just outduels them. Just outduels them a little too much. I think the Giants win this game. I did say earlier that only 2 undefeated teams would win this week. Or what did I say, 3 or 2? I have the Broncos winning, and
you have the Broncos, and you have the Patriots winning.
Patriots,
well,
yep.
Which would leave,
yep.
And then you have Oakland winning, so that would leave.
Just the Eagles. Eagles are on a bye, so
Philly and the Patriots.
Yep. Philly, Patriots, Broncos are the only 3 undefeated teams after this week.
Yeah, I agree. Basically for the same reasons. I think New York has just one too many weapons. They're a lot different of a receivers than the Vikings have gone up against with the Packers. You don't really have the small, shifty receivers. Same thing with Carolina. You don't have the smaller, shifty receivers. Sterling Shepard is quick. Odell Beckham is quick. Victor Cruz is just a wily veteran, but he's a quicker receiver.
Their route running, I think, is some of the best in the league between those 3.
Orleans Darkwa, who I believe is going to get the start today for the Giants, is a faster running back, not the power back that they've been seeing as well. So I think the Giants take this game. I think it is going to be a really good game. I think we have a really good slate of NFL games this week. But with that, you have any other predictions, any other news, notes, any other anything else you want to bring up with the NFL?
Since we didn't talk about the Packers, I just want to hit on a couple quick things, ask a couple quick questions, see what your opinion is on this. With the Packers bye week, I think it came at a little bit earlier than we would have liked it.
Definitely.
As fans, but as players, I think they don't mind. This early in the season, what's the main thing the Packers need to do this bye week to prepare for the rest of the season, really?
First of all, they need to get healthy. Clay Matthews missed that game last week. Jared Cook rolled his ankle during the game and came out. Morgan Burnett missed that game last week. Sam Shields obviously has been out the last couple of games. So one, they need to get healthy. 2, they need to involve some more wrinkles in the offense. You saw it. We saw it against Detroit. We saw Trevor Davis being on kickoffs. We saw Ty Montgomery getting more time on the offense, running some fly routes. They need to be more aggressive on offense, and I think they did that in the first half against the Lions, and we saw it happen. We knew it was going to happen. We hate when it happens. Mike McCarthy got conservative. The Packers quit moving the ball. They gave the Lions the ball back. So get healthy, or continue what you had in the first week of last week, and incorporate more wrinkles into your offense. And then I don't know how often this happens in the NFL. I know with the new collective bargaining or whatever, that physical contact is frowned upon in practice, but their defensive backs need to tackle better, need to cover better.
Yeah.
So those three things, I think, need to be addressed, whether if it's through film with the defensive backs or installing new wrinkles into the offense. But those three things, I think, need to happen this week in order for the Packers to get back to where we both agree that they should be this year.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything you said. Packers, it's always weird having a bye week because there's not really, we don't wake up and like, yeah, let's watch the Packers, and then they're not on. It's just kind of a depressing Sunday because they are our favorite team. But I mean, we still have a good week of football to watch and go over for our next episode. This should be a fun week to watch in the NFL. They've got a lot of good games, a lot of potential upsets, a lot of news probably coming up next week with all the traveling. Like London's always a huge game. They make a big thing about that. So it's going to be a fun week 5.
Definitely. With that, we do have our What If Sports Game of the Week. We chose one of our favorite Badgers teams from the past decade or so to pit against each other. Brock, you went with the 2010 Badgers.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Tolzien with John Clay at running back, backed up by Monte Ball, with Nick Toon and Lance Kendricks being the primary ball catchers. I went with the 2011 Badgers. That's the Russell Wilson Badgers with Monte Ball backed up by James White. James White seems like he's been there or was there for about 15 years before he moved on to the NFL. With Nick Toon, Jared Abbrederis, and Jacob Pedersen being the primary pass catchers. Obviously, home field is both Camp Randall, but we are playing at a neutral field. 70-degree weather, no precipitation, no wind. Let's see how it plays out. And this game, I'm officially on a winning streak. I've won, is it 2 in a row, or have I won 3 in a row?
It might be 3.
So 3 in a row. The 2011 Badgers win 54-29.
Jesus.
John Clay, 21 rushes, 170 yards for you with 2 touchdowns. However, and then Scott Tolzien also threw for 250 yards with a touchdown for the 2011 and winning team Badgers. Monte Ball, 33 carries, 243 yards, and a touchdown. Russell Wilson, 234 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. 1 to Nick Toon, 1 to James White out of the backfield. So give them a follow on Twitter. They're at What If Sports. Check out their website. You can create your own league, create your own matchups. Go find out what matchup that has never happened in college football that you want to pit against each other. Create your all-time NBA, NFL, NHL teams. It's just a really cool website. But with that, give us a follow on Twitter at JockTalk WINC. Follow us or like us on Facebook, facebook.com/JockTalk WINC. Subscribe to our Twitter channel.
YouTube.
Yes, thank you. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. With that, Brock, you got anything else for the people?
Hey, just remember, sometimes the second time's the charm.
That's right. Sometimes people say third time's the charm, but that's not right. It's second time's the charm. But with that, we'll see you guys next week. Have a good day. Go Badgers.
Go Badgers.